you can go after that. But it may be more better use of our time to start focusing on corporate sponsorship at this point, because that's kind of like, that can be ongoing. And then Kim had mentioned that some of their fiscal years, like, recycle in like the summer. So those could still be viable. But at this point, we also should be doing this stuff not just for the Thai conference, but it's also going to be relevant to our own conference. So, just like we've said in the chapter trainings, like, with the community resourcing ask, there's multiple reasons that we want to be doing this. So we have this document to start with Thai, and we can, pull from this for our own things as well. But this is kind of where we're at right now. We also like want to go for this stuff to, get like things like travel for your guys is coming to our conference, and like just money. Not money is now is the time to go for the money in whatever ways it's relevant. So if it's if it's like, if it can be used for Ty's conference, we should go for it. If it can be used for our conference, we should go for it. We need this information regardless. And so that's kind of where we're at. So if folks had questions about that process or had any questions, but I see Kim raised her hand first.
Yeah, so Rahman, first and foremost, I just want to thank you for kind of doing a summary or a recap of what we've discussed, and for kind of being like the oil in this engine and creating space for this conversation. Second, I want to really thank Mike. I know he's not here, but some people, they don't like working with busy people. They believe they have competing priorities and it's difficult to nail them down. But I like busy people. Busy people are busy for a reason. And people that aren't busy, they're not busy for a reason. And it's an entirely different set of barriers to working with somebody that has a lot of time and isn't busy. And I would rather convince someone that's really busy to do something else than to convince someone that's not doing anything to do anything at all. And so I come to this conversation knowing, right, that the Hip Hop Congress is a multifaceted organization, and its leadership, which is literally stretched across the country, is busy. One, because each one of you have your own entity, just like Mike. And I'll talk about Mike more specifically in a second, but each one of you have your own individualized entity, whether it's your individual art form as a teaching artist or performing artist or an actual organization. And then in addition to that, you also manage the interests of the Hip Hop Congress in your area. That excites me because it means that you're very busy. And so this is my attempt. This call is my attempt to convince you to do something else and know that doing something else, deciding today from this moment that if you do focus just for the next 4 weeks on getting information, combing your area to find information about who are the potential sponsors, who are the current foundations, and the outstanding citizen on a municipal level and on a state and regional level, that we'll shake some money out of those pockets, and that we still have enough time to make this happen for the November conference in Ethiopia. We are dealing with a time-sensitive issue. Time is of the essence, but I know that there is still time to turn this around. I want to acknowledge Mike because I feel in a lot of ways he is one of the busiest amongst you. And he still found time to at least try to, I guess, complete the homework assignment. And so the homework assignment was that you at least begin to explore the entities that provide funding in your area. And if you had ever received funding, what was the umbrella under which you received funding. And so if you look into our shared Google Doc, you'll see that Mike has put the name of his educational exchange organization, which has received funding. We did go through the website of that organization. Unfortunately, all of those deadlines have passed, which is the reason that I shared with Rahman that it may be best at this point to begin looking at sponsorships. However, that's not the case for every region. For example, with Anita, when we mentioned that our organization already works in the Midwest out of Ohio, we're currently in the process of completing a major grant that we think it would be possible to include into this grant, because it is a coalition of organizations that have to apply just by the nature of the RFP or the request for proposal. But there are some regions that we haven't even looked at all. And so like Maurice in Northeast that I know have money in their state arts councils. And so I want to include some of the money from entities that are supposed to give money for professional development. For example, in Maryland, the State Arts Council will give up to $2,000 for professional development for any artist in the state. And so there's a state arts council. This money comes from the National Endowment of the Arts. And so every state has a state arts council, and they have money for individual artists. So this is you as an individual outside of the organizational umbrella of the Hip Hop Congress or whatever 501c3 you may be operating locally in addition to or in partnership with the Hip Hop Congress. So Rahman, if we can include state councils on that diagram, or I guess that's a chart, that would also be a really helpful reminder. But I also want to speak to the videos that we requested for the night at the Ethiopian embassy. I know that it was a very quick turnaround, but it didn't go away just because we didn't meet the deadline. As an organization, we still need those basic videos, which is motivation, really internally, intrinsically to the organization that we are doing this. It's an affirmation. We're going to Ethiopia. We don't have the money yet. We don't know if we even have passports. I haven't had that conversation with some of you, but we're going. And so we're going to make this public declaration, which really helps to hold us accountable to our aspiration, right? And it's really just an introduction. And so I think that also knowing that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so saying that publicly, that we're going, it lets your audience know that we really care about this thing that we're doing. And so we're starting early so that we can invest the amount of time and energy it needs to be successful, but also advocacy and fundraising go hand in hand. I said this at our last meeting, but we call it friend raising. We're not just fundraising, we're friend raising. And that means advocacy. That means building buzz. And those small little videos make a difference. And so we still are asking that each one in leadership that plans to come with us, those of you on the phone and hopefully Mike Crenshaw, who is not, that you still make those videos and send them to us, knowing that we're putting them together so that they can be a part of our friend raising efforts on your behalf. I'm driving, and so if I'm quiet, it's because I'm trying not to crash. Rahman, I'm going to pass it back over to you. I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying, but I just wanted to add that to our discussion.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kim. So folks, I'm on the document right now, and I want to, kind of just respect everybody's, busyness and schedules and everything. So if we can, just kind of go around, and I'm doing my homework right now, just because it's like right in front of me, and kind of following Mike's template, and I kind of reformatted that template so you guys can kind of see and do the same. And we can just start putting this information in right now on the call. I can write it in if you guys have that information. You know, again, like if you don't have your own nonprofit or anything or other entity, you know, use Hip Hop Congress. The main thing is that we want to know who have you been funded with in the past, who have you been sponsored by, and then on top of that, now it's like also doing some research on like who is available in your area for that. So I know that we've been funded by the California Arts Council, and that's as far as when I've been executive director, we've gotten that. Corporate sponsors, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I'll open it up to anybody that wants to chime in and start adding to that list. I'm creating it by region. So you'll see Mike's information is in the Northwest, made in Northern California, and then we can just start doing the same for Southern Cali, East Coast, and the South. So who wants to go first? Don't everybody speak at once. I don't know if it looks like DeFranco Maurice. I don't know if you guys even have your audio connected, but Anita's in the dock. Do you want to go first, Anita?
Hold on, let me get in a position to look at this.
So the one thing about
go ahead.
Sorry, the one thing I know about state arts councils that might be challenging is like at least for the California Arts Council is they want to see the grants being used for stuff in the state. So stuff overseas, unless we can connect it back to something that's going to happen in California, usually that's one of the stipulations for at least the California Arts Council.
Okay. So I'm sure we'll run into that with a lot of entities. That's why corporate sponsorship or just sponsorship from outside entities is outside of, you know, Arts Council, because it is regionally specific for return. But the other thing about it is that we are a delegation going over there to help educate them about hip hop culture. So we are bringing back that education to the United States around not just what they learned, but how we interacted and how we can grow forward. So that is something that we could probably use as language to access those grant funds and maybe fly under the radar with that. Not saying it's not impossible, but I think, you know, if we're going to, if that's a hurdle, I think that we should make sure that we use that angle to try to acquire that. Okay. I'm in the doc now. So, all right. Let's go. This is way more than what I saw before.
Right, I've been updating it.
Okay, so how about this? So how about make the first page a template and then go from there, because it's a little confusing. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Like I got Mike's example, and then I have like a short essay, which I guess is from TAI.
Okay, so yeah, for that one, no, that one is something I wrote. That was verbiage for the Ethiopian embassy grant, which was a federal
So can we
grant.
separate that out?
Yeah, I mean,
separate, because that's what's confusing me. Like,
Okay.
because are we just running and like having it formatted, or is it like, are we supposed to write an essay too? Like,
No. That was just verbiage for us to pull from if we were to get into the grant writing side of it, like just pull some language from that.
so let's make that separate, because that's not really what's being asked of us in this document.
Oops.
Because if we're
Okay.
going by purely what Mike has said as an example, that's a short list. That's a little bit easier to digest and something quick we can all put together. And I can honestly say like that's where my confusion came in, because I'm just like, okay, I have to come and like do something else now that I don't understand. And there's no prompt for what I should be doing. So if this isn't actually pertaining to the information we should be, not to say it's not relevant, but it's not pertaining to the information we're being asked to provide right now, it needs to be a separate document to
Well,
lessen
yeah,
confusion.
we kind of went back and forth on that, or whether we need more than one document. And so I understand the confusion. I think on one camp, it was like, let's just have everything on one document so it doesn't get too confusing. But I'm making this template right now so that we can populate it in there. But just for everybody's clarity, the essay written out stuff is just for, you know, that's like that has verbiage for what we're trying to do from both TAI and from Hip Hop Congress's perspective. So I would at least read through it so you know what the objective is for why we're asking for the money. But right now I created the table again. It's going to be region, then name, then description. I'll just say about here. Funders, sponsors, and other. And hopefully that will be clear. So, right, so you have Northwest, we have NorCal, we have SoCal, we have East Coast, and we have South, or ATL. All right. So does that make it a little easier?
Yes.
I mean, we probably, yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, we probably should have, this should probably be in a spreadsheet for those that do that, and then have another one that's for the narrative. So in that case, that makes sense. I know that.
Yeah, because it was, because like the essay, this, now that you told me why it's there, that makes more sense, but it didn't. Is the two don't go together. So yeah, and I would say, like, it definitely serves a purpose. So yeah, like this helps, like having the grid, the table. There we go. There's words.
I'm driving, so I'm not looking at what you're doing, but it sounds like you're labeling the categories. Could you create a category for small local businesses and major corporate entities in your area? Like, for example, in Baltimore, we have Under Armour. And so they would be an ideal target to request sponsorship from, and they have the capacity. But then we also have small bookstores like Everyone's Place, that maybe they couldn't sponsor us with like money to pay for tickets, but could give us books. And so I don't know what yet the delegation may or may not need. I mean, we've even worked with delegations where they don't even have luggage. And so picture of something that we may need for the trip, or something that you guys may want as a tool or to distribute on the ground once you get there. I would include those kind of sponsors too, just so the document is holistic and useful even beyond this space. No need to work twice. I know that Rahman said that you all are at a stage where you're kind of doing resource mapping in general as an organization. And so it would be great if this document could have a life beyond just the work with us. And So I would include local businesses that you want to friend raise with.
Okay, I'm gonna put local and I'm gonna put corp because the other was just okay. All right, so then it looks like, yeah, I'm gonna copy these out. So Nike will go under corporate. Bob's Red Mill, that sounds local, although I don't know. Western State Center, that sounds. Mackenzie, it looks like those last three are local.
Like in California, you all have an entire like department of cultural arts. And so I um I can go through and well, once I see what's there, then I can also add to I mean, but I don't think that uh I mean you probably already know Dale. Um so Dale is in Los Angeles and he's with the cultural affairs department in California. So I
Is
don't
that
know.
is that UCLA or is that when you say cultural affairs? Because that's the name of a UCLA department that has a ton of money. But
So no, that's for the government. Like the
oh,
state
okay.
government of Los Angeles, they have a department called Cultural Affairs. And so they get money, but they also, I don't know how he could support, but I don't know if I say that to say if there's an area in your municipality's government that specifically relates to like cross-cultural exchange. I don't know,
Mhm.
in California, it's cultural affairs, but you know your area. I'm just trying to help you ideate that can then help them or the team ideate uh, who has the money, who has the bag. And so maybe it
Mhm.
looks like a quasi government agency that is in your city. Maybe it looks like a small business or a corporate entity. Maybe it's a traditional foundation. Maybe it's
Mhm.
a giving circle. Um, maybe it's a religious group. Depending on your denomination, you might have a mosque or a church that may be willing to sponsor you as an individual to go and do this work. Maybe you're young enough to still be a part of the youth ministry. Who knows? Depending on how old your church is. I'm just saying that um, now we get now it's to the point where grants may not be as effective. So even we're now even talking about letters, just making acts to outstanding citizen like the pastor, that if he knows with enough time, he might be willing to take up a collection. And depending on the size of your church, that collection, it might be a couple, $100. And
Mhm.
so it matters now at this point because it's April. So
Right. And I do know this is relevant for DeFranco. The California Arts Council actually did just open up their grant season, and it's open until July, I think. So we're not behind on that one. We would probably want to look through that and see, because I see your comment that professional development can happen anywhere if the professional works in the area. So maybe it will be relevant for going overseas if we word it right. So yeah, so I'm starting to add that to the table. But we hear or Anita, looks like Maurice dropped off, or DeFranco. Do you guys have any thoughts?
I 100% agree with what Kim has said um, around where we're seeking funding. And I know this is just for, I mean, it's not just for, but this is geared towards November. But I think one, you're like, yeah, we need to probably meet more. We need to meet more around this, just to make sure we're following through. And Kim, to be honest, this is the first time that we as a leadership team have gelled this much. So it's something we're still working around, especially because, as you know, we're all in different parts of the world on a moment by moment basis, and we're all in different places, not just in our lives, but in our organizations as well. Um, so it's like for me, I'm doing something on a private end. So like mine is not nonprofit focused as much anymore. So that's something that's like is changing for me as well. So I think it might be something that would benefit us a little bit more to do more check-ins, especially because we're just starting with our MOU, and we're still learning as far as us as an organization to, because we're in the middle of a restructure, so like that's something I anticipate will take another year to really process, and we're an ever-growing organization. I know that you understand that as well, being in the type of organization that you have. So yeah, I think that like if we really put our nose to the grindstone, sorry, I don't have a better way to say that, we can like bang this out as far as like maybe getting a blanket letter or blanket letters for sponsorships and donations, like to just do a blast out to every entity that we can find. I think it's just going to be a little bit more time consuming than anybody expects it to be, because we're going to have to hunt down the contact information for these organizations and who to talk to. So that's something that might be just a little bit more time consuming than we plan for it to be. And then something else I think we should talk about is approach for certain organizations because of finding contacts for those entities. Like, for instance, like Mike has, because this is the main example we have, like Mike has Nike, Adidas, Intel. I'm sure those organizations do have, you know, nonprofit, like there's somebody who's in charge of giving and in charge of corporate giving, but we got to find out who that is, because unless, you know, we all know, like unless somebody in our circle knows, those are emails and names that we're going to have to like really push to find. But the minute we do, you know, we gotta push them out and like obviously contact them and get their information and like email them. So yeah, I completely, like I said, I agree with you, Kim. But I think that what's going to need to happen is just we're gonna have to sit down and really do the work and be on a couple calls together to really flesh out what we were trying to say in our letter, as opposed to cobbling what we have together to actually move a little, you know, to really get this moving.
I agree. And I don't think that we have to do a lot of work if we lay a strong foundation in this document. I think if we can just say that we're really gonna, I guess, you said put our nose to the grindstone. If we can do that for April, then that'll give you all space to really focus on your conference in June. And because I know that that's also a major focal point.
Uh-oh, we lost you.
Oh.
Hello? Uh-oh.
Yeah, we lost your audio. She's still on the call, but we lost your audio for a second, Kim.
For them to get more fun.
Okay.
Hello. Hey,
Kim,
Kim.
we just lost your audio for like the last probably 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, we got no clue what
shucks.
you said. I know you was into it too. I'm like,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just saying that your conference needs your attention, and it's in June. And so if we can just spend April focused on this, it'll give you all the time you need in May to get ready for your conference, because you need that attention, your attention there collectively, but also it's an opportunity to decide how can we feature the fact that you're going to November's Ethiopia at your conference in June. That could be another opportunity to fundraise, even from conference participants. They may want to support your journey, and local entities that you invite to sponsor for your conference in June may also be willing to consider sponsoring your delegation's travel. And so I think April is a crucial month. And if we put in work now for April, it'll free us up to do follow-up, because even the initial contact with many of these entities is not enough. After you reach out to them, now you have to follow up with them. And so we're willing on our side to do some of the chase, but making that initial contact and identifying, like you said, who are those initial contacts in your area. You just said it, Anita. The biggest issue is not really putting together the information to send, it's making sure that you send it to the right person the right time, the first time. And you being on the ground in your area is gonna be the reason that you're able to help us identify who are the players in your area. Because once we know who the player is, once we know who we're actually sending the information to, well, that's the hard part. And so I think that it's one thing for you to go and discover new information, but it's also something to be said about you just combing through what you already know about your symbolic landscape as it relates to resources. And so I think that the major corporations in your area, like, yeah, Nike is, that's a major corporation, but is there a Nike headquarters in your area? What we're saying is, who are the major corporate entities that are based? If you live in Nebraska, we want to know about Omaha Steaks. We don't want to know about Nike or Coca-Cola. That's in Atlanta. Who are the major corporate entities in your symbolic landscape? And the small local businesses that care about what you do, or at least express to, and the local foundations on a municipal level. What are the quasi-government entities that say that they're focused on cultural affairs or exchange of some type, or, local artist development, like the state's art councils? Who is that contact? Who do they have a professional development small grant? So making it hyper localized, looking specifically at your area to answer these questions. Who do you already have friend raised contacts and connections to? That's what we need on this document. And you can
Right.
make it even more personal. Are you a part of a community association? Are you a Greek? Are you a part of a Greek organization?
Mm,
Are you a part of a professional artist organization? All of these entities have money and miscellaneous money and funds that
mm,
can go toward your travel.
mm,
Agreed.
mhm,
And I just put this in the chat for those who might not be able to speak. Chamber of Commerce is another entity. Every city has one. Um, and I don't know why I didn't think about this sooner, but yeah, you can go to your local Chamber of Commerce, and that's someplace that they do fund out like nonprofits and profits alike. And they run businesses, like that's what your Chamber of Commerce does. So just to put that out there, but yeah, I 100%, I'm with you. Um, yeah, if we do, not even if we would, our next meeting will have develop those documents and identified people that can actually make moves around what we're trying to do. And great point, Kim. I just put that in my planning document. Like, yeah, I need to make sure to highlight that for our conference too, is the Ethiopia trip. Because I mean, that's a huge partnership, that like you guys are a huge partnership, but also just that trip and being able to go. And I do have my passport, by the way. And I got pre-check, so I'll be there. But
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, that's something. But just the thinking outside of, I'm trying to like think outside of the box of like, how can we get this done quickly? But yeah, like Chamber of Commerce, local, and along, yeah, in the vein of what you're talking about, like local, not just Greeks, but also like business, community business, or what is it? What is it called in Cleveland? I forget. It's it's basically like a local group of business leaders. Like if you could find like a local group, because they exist. Like it's not just the Chamber of Commerce, but if we
We a
can,
giving circle, a cooperative.
there we go. Thank you. That's not the name of the one in Cleveland though, but yes, entities like that, groups like that, that we need to find, that we can, one, that's where all the people are that we need to talk to, and we get their information quickly.
I mean,
So
you
if you're
can
already
even go
involved in it,
yes. I was
like
just going to say, you can even go as far as your community association, depending on
yeah,
how active you are in your community. This really only works, friend, friend raising only works if you have friends. If you're doing the work, you should have friends. Even some friends you don't know are your friends because they don't know that you're doing the work. But if you have a history of doing the work, which the Hip Hop Congress does, you have friends that you don't even know about. And so in your community, if you have a recreation center and you've been doing the work, your community association sees you. And you know that these are the kind of monies that we leave on the table that this year we can't afford to. So especially if you've not asked before, now it's like, okay, this is your first time. It makes it like they have no reason to tell you no. It's not like they give to you all the time, you know, like every time you come and you asking for something. Usually when you show up at these tables, you're the one that's giving of your time, of yourself, of your skills.
Oh, we lost you for a second again. Oh, you went on mute. DeFranco, if you can hear, I'm assuming you can because you're still here. I'm also populating your area of the table with links. I'm putting links to all the things that that are on the table so far from Mike and this conversation. So.
Are we gonna assume that a meal in Atlanta is not gonna happen with the young lady Callie anymore? Is that no longer?
Emil did text. He says he's traveling to the next town in India. He's in India right now, so he'll be away from Wi-Fi till the evening. He said, please share points of meeting later. Also, if not yet, please share the link to the shared doc with Shaquille of Heal the Hood Project for completion. Okay. The link to the shared doc. Okay, so they had somebody from Heal the Hood that is planning on attending. So who is Shaquille? Can you send Shaquille's email? Okay, so Emil is still, I mean, he's still in the conversation, so we can't assume he's not.
Yeah, no, Emil is massively busy. Like he's in another country every other week. I just talked to him like yesterday and he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. Like I'm in India and I can only talk to you for like 2 seconds.
No, I get it. I understand. Meal is a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all have ever been to South Africa, but that is how our organization originally met him. It was in Cape Town. And so he is yeah. If you want to. Okay, good night. Sorry, talking to my nana. And so yeah, Emil, he's famous.
Yeah.
And good, basically.
Okay, so I'm just putting links to all of the things that are in here. And I even found a few when I was searching for others that just kind of popped up. So there's hella.
Yeah, I have like 3 different areas, so like my list is going to be a little bit long. So I'm working on my doc, then I'll transpose it to the grid, the grid you put together.
And so are you saying like Columbus, Cleveland, and
well,
like
I have
Cincinnati?
Austin. Yeah, so I have Austin, then I have Atlanta, and I have Ohio, or Midwest in general. But yeah, since you want to focus like Ohio, yes. So yeah, it's just that's 3 different cities. But I'm doing Cleveland first because one, that's just where I'm from. That's where my connections are the strongest. But yeah, the 3 C's, so I can do that.
So that's going to be
Cincinnati,
a different region than I identified because I kind of put you under the South, and the meal is kind of on that one as well. So do we need a new?
I was going to say I put you under the Midwest, and I guess the point of the document is that you're mentioning.
Well, I'm on both, so like I'm sorry to cut you off. So I am like, and I guess the question, this will be the place to ask that. Because for the document, like,
We can add
that's a
another
good
one.
question. Because yeah, I was gonna say, like, for the Midwest, I'm the interim Midwest director and I'm the Southern Regional Director. But my ties are a lot stronger in the Midwest for sure. My ties are growing here in the South, like they're growing, they're getting stronger. But yeah, my tie, I mean, I have us both. I don't know what to tell you. And
So
Emil is everywhere.
I'll say that for the sake of this document, really what we want to know is where you are connected strongest, because we're using these contacts in real time.
Okay.
And you are the source. You are our connection to these asks that we're making. And I'll say this about the South, and maybe you might disagree, having lived experience there in Texas. There, like in Baltimore, if you come here, people may not smile at you. I don't like you. I don't know you. I don't want to know you. But if you stay long enough, you can become one of us with time, consistency, and good behavior. And Baltimore is a city full of people from other areas that have been here long enough to claim it as home. But in the South, like, they may have Southern hospitality. They stop at street intersections and wave to strangers or people they don't know. But at the end of the day, I'll never know your mother's mother's mother. And so I don't know you. And I won't ever really accept you as being one of us. And so they have some deep seated connection that it's reflected on their funding landscape. They're giving to people that are generations deep. Like, you can't compete with that. I mean, maybe one day you can, but I just know that they are so, like, I don't know. I'm not going to say cliquish.
Yeah, no, the South is actually not very nice. I think that is a misnomer, 1000%. They just it's the same way that you can use, I call it nice nasty, right? Because my parents are from the South, so it's a special type of insult. Like, it's the same way as saying bless your heart, like, oh, you are so sweet, thank you so much. But I'm not really being kind to you. I'm just saying, oh, yes, that's so nice of you to make mention of something that is so basic and juvenile that you're really just insulting your presence with my presence, and I don't even know why you're talking to me. That is a consistent thing that I run into being down here. So much so that it's something that, like, I talk to people around here and I ask, like, yo, like, they'll ask you how you like it. You've been here for 5 years, and it's like, I'm still trying to figure out if I like it or not. And they're just like, yeah, I get it, because people aren't that nice here. And I'm like, man, I know I'm not crazy. Like, they're not nice here. But I also live in Texas. I don't live in, like, I mean, I'm grateful that I do live in Austin, because it's a lot nicer than the rest of Texas. But, like, it's just kind of the same way with Atlanta. Like, Atlanta, in comparison to the rest of Georgia, is like a little cocoon, right? Like, I go to Atlanta and I'm happy because I see Black people the second I get off the plane. Like, oh my gosh, Black people, this is amazing. Like, it's kind of one of those things. So yeah, no, the South is not nice. They just use a different tone of voice and language to express things.
And we should know that, because that was the hub of the enslavement trade. And we so easily forget.
And here's something else that I try to tell people, like, about Texas specifically. They were the last place to learn that slavery, that it was over. So that's something that is still carried over to today. To the point where, like, me being from the North and just being everywhere that I've been in the country and in the world, then coming down to Austin and, like, coming down to, Houston is different. Houston is, like, dope. That's a cool place. But Austin and, like, Dallas, they're just like, oh my gosh, why are you being that way? Or why are you doing that? It's like, I'm having a good time. They're just like, well, shush, like, you should be more quiet. And just like, why? Why should I lower my voice when we're at a party? Why should I lower my voice when I'm at a concert? Like, I'm literally singing along with the song. So are you telling me not to sing along with the artist, or, like, what's happening? But it's something where, like, because of the levels of discrimination, and don't get it wrong, like, the other ethnicities here are also very racist. And they hold on to that. They hold on to that really tight, really, really tight around that segregation. that
Um,
they still try to put in place? Go ahead. We're off topic.
yeah, Anita, I don't mean to, I don't mean to cut you off, but since you had brought it up earlier too, so Candid or GuideStar, are you familiar with that, Kim? And have you played around with that?
Well, I know that GuideStar will basically give you a rap sheet on nonprofits, and it'll tell you how much money they've received and, how much they've given away, sometimes depending on what type of entity they are. But we're not on GuideStar because we're,
Well, yeah, y'all are
not
for
a
profit, right?
Yeah,
Right.
social
Yeah, they
entrepreneurial.
wouldn't be on there. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just wondering though, like, because I know they do, like, they have like grant directories and stuff you got to pay for it, which I've not done, but I just didn't know if you had any experience. We just got our platinum transparency thing on GuideStar, so I was pretty happy about that. Thank you, Anita, for reminding me of that. So I hope that will can translate into something. But yeah, I'm just
Does it
going
translate
through.
into like having a grant database that you know about, that you have access to?
Well, they do
Because I
have
use
those.
like
Well, I don't know if it.
PND.
Say that
Are
again.
you familiar with PND? I use PND.
I don't know what that
PND
is.
is like a grant database hub, and they publish
Yeah.
RFPs on a regular basis.
Okay. No. Yeah, if we
Yeah,
want
the
to link
Philanthropy
that
News
in here.
Digest, that's Candid. It's the same.
Oh,
That's
it's the
all the
same?
Foundation Center.
Wait, it's exactly the same or with different names, or it's just the same idea?
So like I'm still trying to understand what they did. Um so PND, because that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Kim? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Philanthropy Digest.
yeah, that's the same as Candid. Like this is all, they're all under um the Foundation Center is what it used to be. But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. But that's also Candid, which is what they're
They
renaming
send
the
me
Foundation Center to.
yeah, they just send me emails daily. So I just go from that. I know it gets a lot more deep if you pay for it, but I have the free
Mm-hmm.
version.
Mm-hmm.
As we should. We shouldn't have to pay for that. We're trying to get money. Why we gotta spend the money to get the money? Like that's a lot of money.
It's a barrier for a reason.
This
Mm-hmm.
is true. This is true.
I mean, just taking the time to like look for like corporate giving. I mean, there's just, again, this is like a whole department that we. This is a whole job that people have.
I used to have it. I get it.
Oh, really?
That was so I worked for, when I tell you I used to work for, so I used to work for a medical journalism startup company. They did a revenue from 5 million my first year to 13 million my second year. In the third year, they were bought out for an undisclosed amount of money. During that time, I worked for the CEO. I was his personal assistant. So I did everything. Like I did all of the money transactions, deposits. Like I just wasn't a journalist, so I didn't do that part of the job, but I did everything on the other end of it. And that's like, it is time consuming because I know, because I did it. Like coming through somebody's website to find the information, like going, and then after you find that person, following up with a phone call to make it more personal, to like actually get in connection with someone that can actually give you money. Like that's where all of my knowledge from angel investors and capital venture firms comes from, because of that. Because I had no clue before having that job that was even a thing. But yeah, so no, that was literally my job. Like I just had to hunt down sources all day, and then like I've had side jobs too. But yeah, that was like one of my many things I've
Okay.
done in my life.
Well,
Anywho,
when we get more resources, we're gonna have you hire you to do that for us.
That is I will do it, but that is an intern job. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'll do it, but yeah, that's an intern job. Like that's is because it's grunt work. Like it's
Yeah.
not really
Okay. Well, if you can
the
guide
work.
people through that, then I mean that, dang. So if that's the case, we should have you, Anita, because I was talking with Natalie about her workshop for the conference. And I'm sorry, we're getting like all over the place with this, Kim. But Natalie's going to do a fundraising workshop she wants to do. We can add her to that because she was asking what she should focus on. Um, so you should be part of that and talk about that and going and searching for funds.
Okay.
Sidebar. Okay, so Kim, I've updated the shared document so it doesn't look so bleak now. I was starting to go through different corporate, like the corporate things that Mike put down and try to find links for them. I linked everything that I could find right off the top. And yeah, there's not only a few more, but DeFranco, I don't know if you're able to. Oh, and Mike also texted me. He says he's on a family trip right now, but he'll catch up soon, comrades. But DeFranco, I don't know if you're able to connect your sound. We haven't heard from you, but I know you're taking it all in. Can you put something in the chat? Let us know that you're not a bot. Is this really DeFranco?
Agent.
Or an agent, right? Is this really DeFranco? Have we been hacked?
By a DeFranco clone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. This is rough. Okay, so question about this table you put together here, because you have two separate columns. One says local and one says corporate. I'm confused here.
Well,
so are you
I'm
asking
just
for like local,
you know,
local headquarters
business.
is what I thought we were doing, or
No, business, local businesses.
So maybe small businesses that
Okay.
are locally in your area. Maybe it's
okay,
just like
versus the
the corporate
corporations
that are in your area.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Small biz and then corp. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I'm still not looking, but I'm feeling something about community and professional associations that you may have as an
Something bad or
individual.
good? Oh,
Oh yeah, I think that would be a good place to also ask.
yeah.
When it's time to send out the letter. Like for example, I know that Maurice puts a lot of time in his church. I'm very sure that if he sent an official letter to his church with the first lady, they would
Yeah.
give him $500.
And that's where our Atlanta chapter gets funds too. Kelly Glow, Dr. Kelly Glow, let me put respect on her name, Dr. Kelly Glow. But she, she's a lyricist, but also she's highly involved in the Lutheran Church. So that's where she gets a lot of her donations and involvement, which is amazing.
Yo, the church is literally like the Catholic Church has a city. The Vatican, like they're a business, the biggest business, one of the oldest businesses. So it makes sense that Dr. Kelly Glow is getting bankrolled from the Lutherans.
I did not know that Maurice spends a lot of time in his church. We have never talked about
Me either.
I didn't even know he was religious like that.
Oh my God.
I have no comment.
I don't know if he's religious, but he definitely has a church family.
Okay.
That's a good way to put it. Thank you.
I also didn't know that he has a poetic recovery app. Did you know this, Anita?
Yes, I did.
I don't know how I didn't know that.
I don't know either, because if you talk to him for 5 seconds, he makes you download it. And,
Yeah, he never asked me until like a couple weeks ago.
oh,
Yeah.
so,
I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
so, okay.
he said local businesses willing to fund what we do, right? Mm.
Yeah, or that you benefit. Maybe you bring clientele to them. Maybe you do open mics at their, bar. Maybe it's a restaurant. Maybe you're, in their vicinity, like they know you. We're thinking about local businesses that are in your community.
Oh no, I
You're
get it. I'm just racking my brain for Cleveland. That's all. Like I'm in Austin, so I gotta like change my brain and go to like my region. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking out loud. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. The good thing about you in Cleveland is that we have already had 4 people funded to come to the conference that were paid for by the
So
Ohio
who?
Arts Council.
Okay, perfect. I was gonna say like so. Yeah, they just got $4 million to like spend on just whatever. Um. Oh, you know what? I know who. Greenville neighborhood, because that's where I'm from. I gotta make sure I go home, guys, and then that'll tie this back. So, who are your people in Cleveland?
So you may know her as Javita Ely, but we call her Mama Adeo Lomo, and she's like one of the founders of the Karamu Theater,
Yeah.
right next to Samuel L. Jackson. They were all together when they were there at Karamu, and her husband, he's in his 80s now.
Mm-hmm.
Baba Ken Snipes,
Mm-hmm.
he was the executive director for many years. So if anybody that's in theater knows Mama Ade, or what they call
Yeah.
Sister Yavita,
Mm-hmm.
and Baba Ken, and then she connects us in real time to Japo, and they do African dance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, at the theater. Okay. Yeah, they just got a
so,
lot more money back into the Karamu because Karamu House was struggling for a long time.
yeah,
Because like Karamu isn't near the other theaters, so like
good.
it's closer to where I live.
Um, well, not the hood, just
No, I
you
live in
know.
the hood. You're right. No, it wasn't always like that. Like that area, because it's by Huff. Like that's that was a black neighborhood. Like they had so much over there, but the hospital took it over, like Cleveland Clinic and University Circle. So like Karamu is one of the last still standing places. There's a couple of black there's a black theater on 79th and is that Superior? Yeah, but it's still run down. I think somebody bought it, but they don't do anything with it. But yeah, Karamu House, that's awesome. Because yeah, they just got money I would say right before I moved here, so about 6 years ago. Because before that they were
Well,
still
it's important to know that even though Mama Ade and Baba Ken were there in the beginning, they're not working with the theater now.
yeah.
There was a major fallout with the current executive director.
Uh-huh. Because it was
And
money.
yeah, it
It
was
was money.
about money.
Oh, I know.
Um,
Yeah, no, I love Karamu House. Like I'm from Glenville, so where Karamu House is from my house is like because of traffic probably about 10 minutes, but it takes me about 5 to get over there realistically. On a good like I get all green lights, like it's not far from where I live at all. Like we in the city of Cleveland as a youth, if you're remotely on the east side, you go to the Karamu Theater for a number of years for like whatever plays or whatever they have going on. So yeah,
so
I'm very aware.
in addition, we work like our fiscal sponsor is Tender Heart Crusades. And so
Okay.
they work in the churches. And so that's a whole different world. So we've got the theater world, the church world, and then I would say African centered community revitalization, but that's down in Columbus. In Columbus, our fiscal sponsor, you may be familiar with Gallery in the Hood, Baba Shango. We have programming happening this summer. We've done it several summers. with other programs like their festival, but this summer we have a program specifically related to his skill set, creative carvers and carpenters, and teaching young people how to be a solution to the housing crisis in their communities, but learning about traditional lens, indigenous lens, African-centered lens on carving. And so that's in Columbus on Brianwood Street. So I don't know if you know anything about Columbus, but
I do. I should probably ask my brother for some. I'll ask him.
you can ask them about the Sankofa playground.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry to be off topic.
No, you're fine. That is perfectly fine. No, my brother is two of my brothers are coaches. So I can ask them. So it'll just depend on when they respond. Because they're my siblings. So that's different.
So family, I hope
They're
that we
my
can
siblings.
another meeting. Because I know that for the month of April, I would like to do this once a week, if possible, just for the month of April.
Yeah,
so
I
that
agree.
we can have work sessions. And I feel like with the letters and the tools developed and the businesses targeted, outlined, that April is going to be a really good month for us. I don't know if that's something you guys want to talk about internally with your leadership and then get back to me. But I'm not putting this off on Stephen or Haki or Nana Amoa. I'm doing this myself because I want it to work and I want it to be right. And so if you guys can find the time once a week to do just what we're doing right now, like a work session, I would really appreciate that. And I know it'll benefit us. I do have to jump off. I'm about 22 minutes behind schedule for the latest meeting that I've had on a Friday in a long time. But I have another meeting. They may actually be a potential funder. It's called the Women's International League for Freedom and Peace. And the meeting.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
You
talking
familiar?
about. Yeah, I'm very
So I have a
familiar.
meeting with the Philly region, and it started at 10, and it's 10:23 my time now. So I do have to go.
Go to your
But I will
meeting.
make sure that I'm going to put this recording inside of our WhatsApp group chat. I guess Rahman, if you could please send whatever our next meeting date is inside the WhatsApp group chat, and whatever date you choose, I will make myself available.
Okay, I think Fridays are a good day. Typically at this time, if we could maybe keep that for now, because I can do this for the most part. If that works for folks.
Cool.
I'll do my best. It's a Friday.
Right, I know. Okay.
But the answer is yes thus far.
Okay. I know today is Good Friday, so folks got you didn't work today.
Who, me?
Yeah. Or you did?
No, I worked. Yeah. No, they don't. They changed our holiday calendar, so we have like 6 holidays now instead of like the 12 we had.
Damn. Okay. Well, we'll try to we'll check back in with the group and see what time works for everybody. And I'm down with that, checking in. Even if it's, I know weekends might not be the best, but we'll find a day. We're all busy.
Certainly.
But we'll make it happen. All right, Kim, go to your other meeting. Thank you for making the time for us.
Yes, thank you,
us.
Kim.
Not just for y'all. For y'all.
I appreciate it's for us. You're right. I appreciate the lighting the fire. For real.
Let's get it. Let's go get the bag. We'll talk soon.
For sure. Have a good night. Be safe.
Those agents for